Hey, what's going on? So just a few hours ago, 3 hours ago, Chris dropped a comment on one of my YouTube videos asking, can you make a video of your thoughts on cash offers based specifically on what buyers are actually paying, eliminating the need for ARV times 70% minus repairs, which a lot of people know as the 70% rule. So in this video, I'm just gonna put it together. There's two other methods that I use, and I really don't use that 70% rule that he referred to there. Like I don't have a calculator where I put in ARV and it does a bunch of math and uses that 70% rule. So Chris is asking a good question here because I actually use two other methods primarily when I am comping properties. So we're gonna kind of go over those two mostly in this video. But first I wanna start by saying comping is more of an art than it is a science. You know, if you have 100 people comp a property, nobody most likely is gonna have the same exact number as you. And that's just because there's different exit strategies for the property. So say someone buys the property and they're going to value it at maybe $200,000 because they plan to keep it for a year, then sell it. Some people might want to do different types of rehab. Some might want to put, you know, higher end fixtures and things like that in the house and they expect the property to sell more. Some people might do just cosmetics, so they expect it to sell less. So you just don't think that there's any exact way to do this. You can't get caught up thinking that that's the way it is. You just can't overthink it like that. So that being said, that's why you got to remember that your initial offer is just a starting point. It's just something that you're giving the seller to get everything going, right? You could say something along the lines of like, yeah, it's looking like over there at that property, we'd be able to pay about $80,000, you know, and then you're having the conversation, you shut up, that's presenting an offer and you see what they say. And say your MAO you came up with was like, you know, $100,000 and you present them 80 just to feel it out. They might say, yeah, let's go. And then you're kind of off to the races. So always start low and just don't present your offer as it's like, here's my offer, take it or leave it. Like, don't do that. You know, kind of present your offers in a conversational way and they won't just hang up on you and you'll be able to continue negotiating for the property. The tool that I'm going to be using is Propstream. There's a link in the description if you want to sign up. I use it for pulling vacants and absentee lists primarily and doing property research like comps, things like that. Or if I want to see if there's more than one person on title. Oftentimes you're talking with somebody and you think that they're the point of contact and then you go and you look at the property and you'll see that somebody else is actually on title. So that's who you would want to actually talk to. Before I used to actually go to like the city and county's tax assessor pages to do all that, and it was tedious, time consuming, and this Propstream just saves me a lot of time. So enough on that one. So here we go. Let's kind of get into this. I have a list of code violations in Clarksville, Tennessee that I'm going to be pulling some random addresses from. I have not comped these, so it's just a list here. I'm going to take a couple and try to illustrate this. There's three methods to comp, kind of that we just talked about here. So there's ARV times 70% minus rehab, which I'm assuming that you know how to do, so I'm not going to go over that one. Then you've got the 1% rule. And this is basically you take the rent and you can either divide it by 0.01, or which is 1%, or you can multiply it by 100 to get to the same thing. So an example of that is like, say you have a property that rents for $850, right? If you times that by 100, it's going to be $85,000, right? And that would be like your starting point. What I like to do is take out some of the rehab for things to be rental ready. So if a property rents for $850, I've got $85,000, and if I see the pictures or whatever and I think it's like a $10,000 rehab, I'll subtract some rehab out of there just for some cushion, and that's going to give us $75,000, which I'll start. That's my MAO, so I will start below that, and I might offer, you know, I'm not saying this is our official offer, but it's looking like we'll be around like $60,000, and then just don't say anything and see where they go, and then you can work your way up to this $75,000. That's the 1% rent rule in general. There's not much to it. I use Rentometer. I pay like $79 a year or something like that. There's also a link to that in the description if you want to go check that out. And you put in the address and then you can get the rental rates. You can also go to Craigslist. You can also go on Zillow to try to find rents in that area. And again, don't worry if it's not an exact rent number. You just want to get in the ballpark so that you can start the negotiations, and you're always going to start lower anyway. So don't worry too much about that. So let's pull up a property here, and let's maybe give an example where we use this this 1% rule and look at some actual sales. So yep, that's what I want. And again, I haven't looked at this property already. Let me zoom back a little bit. All right, 501 estimated equity. So it looks like this property, this was on a codes list, but assuming the estimated equity here, I'm assuming that this property was already fixed up and just sold. So length of ownership, 8 months. All right, let's maybe try one more just to see if we can get maybe something better. So let's throw this one in here. Let's see what we get. So estimated equity 135. This is not necessarily a given. You know, I don't really use that. I don't look at the value. So what they're saying is estimated value is this much and the estimated equity is this much. So they're saying that there's no loan on it. And if you look here, there isn't a mortgage tab. So that's likely. It's occupied, but it's non-owner occupied. So it is a rental, most likely. So that's what I'm looking at right off the bat. Walker Woodruff. I'm not really going to look at much of that information for now. So I'm going to go to comparables. And what I'm looking for are recent sales. So this goes back a full year, which I'm fine with. The square footage, I believe, is 20% automatically, and they go for half a mile. So this is actually a lot of properties that we can look at. And what we want to do is look for, and at the price point, because I know Clarksville, this is kind of high price points for it to be a rental. So I may not necessarily use the 1% rule here because that's mostly for rental properties. So I might use more of that 70% rule type thing. And again, it's an art, not a science. So like this one here sold for cash. So, and it's kind of on the higher end. 1,078, ours is 1,050. The lot size is half the size, but ours is built in 1977. So I like to stay within 10 years if I can. So I'm gonna go 1987 here. And that'll filter that out. So there's this one, okay, so here's cash, but there's no pictures, unfortunately. But what we might be able to do is take this and just go to Google and see what the property looked like. Pull it up, and it doesn't look that bad. Hard to say. This was from 2013. So unless, you know, it's not in the worst shape. But it's like it's maybe like an older house, right? We have no idea what the inside looks like, unfortunately, but that sold for $67,000. So that might be like a starting point that I would probably use. So if I was to call and make an offer on this property, it's looking like these sales. Let's look at this 150. This is a higher end. And of course, for this example, there's not going to be any photos. But it sold for $150,000. Let's maybe go to Google and type in, MLS, or let's just try Zillow. October 15th. So here's what the inside of the house looked like, which is not bad. It could use some fixing up. This wood paneling is kind of ugly, not gonna lie. And if you like that, sorry to offend your taste there. But yeah, no, the kitchen's old, the floors need to be redone. This needs to be flipped, and it's sold for $150,000. So my thought is if someone were to buy this and maybe do some upgrades, and this is kind of arbitrary, right? Then maybe it could sell for like 190, 200 range. So I'm going to go back here. It looks like there's not really anything to show that. So this again comes to the art kind of science thing. So if I was to do, let me get my phone. If I was to pull out my calculator and do the 70% rule, 190 times 0.7 equals 133. It is square footage. Let's call that 1,000. Let's say, let's call it a $25,000 rehab. So minus 25. And then I want to take out $10K for a wholesale fee minimum. So I'd offer 98. And it looks like there was an offer, a cash offer for this one that sold for $67,000. And it actually looked decent at least 10 years ago from the outside pictures. So that's a combination of, so that's basically looking at real sales and determining an offer. So what I would do here, like I said, based on the 70% rule with what I just did, my MAO is 98,000. There's an actual sale that I can point to for 67,000. So I might start there and say, you know, it looks like in the area, you know, there was one that sold over on Gold Leaf. The kind of properties we're looking for, it's comparable to yours, same square footage, just about and everything. And it went, you know, for 67,000. So we can maybe do a little bit more than that, you know, depending on the exact condition. But, you know, we'd feel comfortable around 70,000. And then just don't say anything, and then that's when the negotiation starts. And you can go all the way up to 98,000 with your $10,000 wholesale fee in there. So that's it. I hope you got some value out of this video. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I do crypto content, real estate content, and drop shipping stuff, and like business in general. So I hope you found this helpful. See you on the next video.